As our next speaker is Frank Fader, and is this working? Okay. From the University of Göttingen, and Frank is going to be talking to us about a couple of projects, especially the big new Coptic Old Testament project that is going on in Göttingen right now, and they're even hosting a Coptic summer school. And I see Alin, whom we mentioned many times already this morning, posted to Facebook this morning that there are over 60 applicants to the Digital Coptic Summer School in Göttingen. Wow. So yeah, so Digital Coptic is where it's at. It was on a second ago.
Just connecting.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of people. Oh, it's a week, I think. Yeah. But you know, I think any graduate students that are doing anything in Coptic in Europe are applying, and there are people from the United States. So yeah, great.
And there's Göttingen as well.
Great. All right, thank you, Frank.
So actually, what I can first, I have to thank the organizers that we could come together here after 2 years after the Berlin Digital Coptic workshop. And yeah, then I was still in the Berlin Academy project for the Egyptian dictionary, so an overall dictionary, and now we just started in January with a new long-term project funded by the union. Oh, see, that's not the right page here. So, sorry. By the Union of German Academies, and that means from the federal government and the Land Niedersachsen. So that's the federal state. We have also this federal system at this stage compared to the states. Yeah, you can imagine that after 2 months, there is hardly anything definite to present here. And so I will give you some general figures, what this all is about, and I hope this works here to demonstrate an online version of the already existing virtual manuscript room of the Institute for the New Testament Research in Münster. So our team now includes Alin Suciu. We were happy to enroll them for our project. Just if the computer fails, then we have it. And also 2 guys who formerly worked for the New Testament project at Münster, the IT specialist Troy Griffiths, and Ulrich Schmid, a scholar, New Testament and theological scholar, who actually will also for us develop the web-based virtual manuscript room, database and infrastructure. So we just join the Münster live-ray development system because, as we say in German, you don't have to invent the warm water again. This is a very dynamic system and offers all the modern possibilities for data use and data organizing. So the main thing is that after more than 100 years of attempts by mostly single scholars to come to an edition of the Coptic Old Testament, you know that the New Testament has much more with Horner's edition and now the Münster project, much more to present already, but not all work is done either on this field. So the first and most important thing was in the digital age to join all the forces and to have all the material already available. So I worked in the 90s for the Halle project that wanted to edit the Coptic Old Testament under the direction of Peter Nagel. Many of you will know him. He is already 76 of age, and he is happy to see all these developments in the digital age, but he's still writing letters with a typewriter. So I can't contact him by email. So I have to write a letter, print it out, and send it to him. So he's just not willing to make this step. But it's okay. He's a wonderful scholar and philologist, and we are happy that he still works with us. And so we have the image and data archive of this project, the image and data archive of the late Karl-Heinz Schüssler, this Biblia Coptica project, and via Allen, the image archive and the database entries concerning the Coptic Bible from Tito Orlandi's CMCL Corpus Dei Manuscritti Copti Letterari project that is now based in Hamburg, because Tito's daughter lives in Hamburg. There's no other reason why he leaves Rome for Hamburg. Hamburg is like London. It's always raining all the time. So, but now he is there, and that means the archive comprises already about 50,000 manuscript images from different sources and of different formats: microfilms, photo negatives, black and white images, color images, and so on. So besides the New Testament project at Münster, our archive, after 2 months, just by joining all these things other people, and including me, have assembled in former ages, is one of the largest collections in the world for Coptic biblical manuscripts. So very important is, in this respect, also the joining of forces in international cooperation. So the same reason, of course, now in the digital age, it is easy to contact, to collaborate with other projects. So first, our colleagues from the Coptic SCRIPTORIUM, this is obvious, we are here. Then my former project, Strukturen und Transformation des Wortschatzes der ägyptischen Sprache, is a complicated title. And now directed by Sebastian Richter in Berlin. And the same Sebastian Richter moved from Leipzig to Berlin. I moved from Berlin to Göttingen, so we have a kind of moving around. Amir moved from Berlin to Washington. This is rather something important. And of course, we will hear after this about the database and dictionary. Sorry, I put 2 times database. It's only one database, I suppose. And dictionary of Greek loanwords and Coptic. It's twofold important. Therefore, it's like in Coptic. To make something a higher degree, you have to put it 2 times, like in Spanish. So sorry for this. And of course, the Institute for German Neutestamentliche Textforschung, and my colleague Siegfried Richter and I agreed about a new common numbering system of the Coptic biblical manuscripts. So our perspective is that one day, not in too far future, you will have a web portal where you can look for Coptic and Greek biblical manuscripts. So it's a bit open if the Septuagint project at Göttingen, because they have to run for a new application at the academy. So we work also for the Göttingen Academy, but our colleagues just are in the run for the new application, and we don't know if this will be funded in the future. But the ideal picture would be to have a whole database portal for Coptic, all the New Testament, and Greek, New and Old Testament. So that's the overall picture we are heading to. And of course, some of the institutions at Göttingen, the Centrum Orbis Orientalis and Occidentalis, Also, we are a member in this and the Septuagint project, as I mentioned, the Göttingen Center for Digital Humanities. And we're also in contact and in collaboration with the San Shenouda Archimandrite Coptic Society in Los Angeles. With Gaudat Gabra and Henry Tatler, especially, they collaborate with us for manuscripts, and they want to provide an Arabic translation at the stage when we have the text and the translations. So as you see, there are many levels of collaboration, and the data exchange Coptic lexicon I developed for the Berlin project, and now we continue. We'll have this in summer, I suppose, an XML, TI XML-based Coptic lexicon as a source for annotating Coptic text data. And of course, with the Loma project, there are obvious connections and other things too. So as you see, I think Siegfried and I will publish an article in the Journal of Coptic Studies and elsewhere. We'll also put it online, of course, that now the numbering system for the New Testament, the Coptic New Testament Sahidic text witnesses is from 1 to 1,999, and starting with 2,000, we count the Old Testament manuscripts. In case of liturgical manuscripts, including Old and New Testament texts, then we take, if already available, the Münster number. Yeah? So then we don't invent new numbers, so just bring all things together. And especially grateful we are for the readiness of Wolf-Peter Funk, one of our most esteemed scholars and linguists and Coptic studies, who gave not only to us but also to the Leipzig project. We are able to reconstruct his old DOS database, the Lemmatiseur, with all, especially his dialectical texts, in the smaller dialects. So we will bring this up to our age and make it again usable. So he gave everything to us and to the Leipzig people. That means to Sebastian and to me. And our IT guys are making something of it that we can use it, and it will be extremely wonderful if we have these data from him. Otherwise, it had been under a cover of the ages of Windows and Mac and so on. But it works still on his computer if you use DOS. It's amazing. Yeah? So, Ryan. To give a little demonstration what we are going to have. I hope it works here with the internet. So this is from, as you see, the virtual manuscript room.
It's not.
It's not?
For your presentation?
Yeah. I'm talking
Not
about
iPhone.
no, this is iPhone.
I know. No, iPhone. Wonders.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie. So as you see, I hope you can see everything. This is the library-based, web-based system for the Coptic New Testament project at Münster. And this shows some of the functionalities we also have. Here's some data you can enter, and we'll give an example. You look for Sahidic. And it's a bit small, isn't it? Yeah. And maybe we can use this fragment here. It was a list of manuscripts with dating and other metadata. And every document gets an ID. And we click on this. Then a list appears. Choose one photograph. It's a little bit small, sorry, but you get the idea, I hope. Huh? So then you have, can always go back to the catalog. You have a photograph of a fragment with a transcription here. And the transcription will also be able to be transferred into an XML format. So the database will have, in the ideal situation, high resolution digital images, but this won't be in all cases possible to acquire. So I tried already here in Washington, the Free Sackler library, to contact someone to ask for digital images, and they wanted $60 per image, only for one page, of course. So then let's see what we can do. But in other cases, maybe they, for example, Vienna, they offered help, and they are willing to let us have these high resolution digital images. And normally, I don't know why it doesn't work here. You can also move the picture. So then we will have a picture, and we can make a transcription. And also, as people in Münster did, by the progress of the work, there will be also a base text. So that we can load, and maybe we can show you this in the next example. So this is the transcription, the manuscript workspace. Let's say a fragment. When we go back to our fragment, these are text examples from the Revelation, and the text has been entered by Christian Askeland. Maybe go to this number. Come on, where is it?
I think if you click right on the under the INTF ID to the right, yeah, I think if you click on there.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, sorry. So then we have the examples from the Revelation, and we take one where the picture is available. Come on. Ah, here it is. So that's so the screen is too small. Yeah, and this is the normal way if you want to describe the manuscript as the visual manuscript. So we can just load a base text here. It's already there, and then we can start to transcribe here. So the text of the photograph begins here, and so we can just adapt the text to the text on the photograph. So you have the base text of the Revelation, and this is already there, and then you can make your text according to the manuscript fragment you have here. Yeah? So that's only a short idea how this will work. So in Münster they are doing this already, and this is what we will have first we are in the stage of collecting all the photographs. So we have already photographs of almost everything, but the quality is very, very different. And in some cases, the next week I will be with people in Morgan Library in New York. I have an appointment there to speak with the senior curator, Mr. Völkler, who is interested in the digitization of the manuscripts. So there's this facsimile edition, and from January of this year, this is freely available. There's no copyright, so this expired. So there's another initiative by the New Testament scholars, and Christian Askelin is involved with this. They also want to digitize the facsimile edition again, and I suppose I will see if the manuscripts are in the state we see in the facsimile edition, because time has passed, and they were treated in Rome with a strange coverture by someone. And Alan told me that maybe they somehow darkened in the meantime. So then maybe the facsimile edition pictures are better than the originals now. I just don't know. So to show you, last but not least, come on, what is it here?
You can just do another tab.
I don't know, I wanted to go to something here. Yeah, this is the construction side of our, the screen is too small, on our new project. It looks, because it's a live ray system, it looks very alike the Münster project. And as I told you, in the future we hope to have, of course we will have our website, each in Münster and Göttingen, but then there will be a portal for just research on the Coptic Bible or on the Greek Bible. So then here we have still to put a text and something else, and at least you get some basic information already here. I don't see this here, the small screen. That doesn't matter. So anyway, it's work in progress, and yeah, you can follow on the internet what's going on, and we will be happy to present in the next future the first results, maybe a manuscript. We started transcriptions from the Bodmer collection manuscripts, because they are old and they are mostly not so scattered as the White Monastery fragments. So this is something very, very difficult. So with best greetings from Heike Behlmer, our project supervisor, who is just on the other side of the globe in Australia. I thank you for attention, and I hope this is something with perspective. So I'm sorry that I can't show you anything else now, but after 2 months it's possible. Thank you so much.
And we have a few minutes for questions, so please, you can field your own questions.
Thank you very much. It's really exciting. What are you going to do for a base text for Sahidic Old Testament? I understand that the Münster people can use, all their work on critical edition, but I'm a little confused as to what you're going to do.
So our student collaborators just are transcribing from the publications, the first base text of longer manuscripts. So we have at once a manuscript text, the publications by Sciasca, for example, for the Rome fragments. So then we develop base text, because we don't have this for the Coptic Old Testament.
So it's
but
just
this is
a
going
manuscript
on.
of some sort.
Yeah. So then we have, for the different books, we have a kind of base text, but first we want to make the individual manuscripts visible. And from a transcription of a manuscript, we can also take the base text for another manuscript. But you have to start somewhere. Yeah. So this is not available elsewhere. There's no Thesaurus Linguae Coptic. But we are going to develop this, of course. Yeah.
Great.
Another
It's going to come from biblical manuscripts.
Yeah.
Not, I'm thinking of your publication on Jeremiah.
Yeah.
where some of the text was from patristic sources.
Yeah.
So this will just.
No, first
full manuscript?
the Codices manuscripts. Yeah. Then also, yeah, because there will be books with many gaps, as Jeremiah, for example. There will be books with many manuscripts, like the Psalms. Yeah. So there, who is working on the Psalms is on the one hand in a comfortable position, on the other in a difficult, because there's so many individual manuscripts. And this will be another step, because for the edition I used, you're right, also patristic sources. But then we hope that there will be also a project. There have been different attempts to start a citation, biblical citation project. And Karl-Heinz Schüssler started with his project because he wanted the project, what was the name? Biblia Coptica Patristica. So in the end, he discovered that there is no biblical text available, only individual publications. And then he started his catalog, Biblia Coptica. He had to give up on the citation project. But there we need maybe also collaboration. And another step, first we start with the biblical manuscripts, and then we will also explore the other sources, of course. Yeah?
I have a question about the transcription. If you could go back to the transcription page. So first of all, I see this kind of suggestive CB there. Is this doing, are you doing TI-XML in the background? Or is this just...
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is immediately also transferred into TI-XML. Yeah. They have also this for Greek, because they started with Greek manuscripts in Münster, and then they adopted it for Coptic. Yeah. And we only use this Antino because this is no Unicode standard.
Right.
Yeah, it's really important.
Is this Epidoc or general?
I don't know if the Münster people use Epidoc. So these normally Epidoc is used by papyrologists because they have their other private use areas for certain signs. This is not so important for us now. But if you want to transcribe the individual manuscript, there are also some signs. But normally we are fine with Antino. Maybe if Epidoc is also usable, of course.
I'm actually wondering about elements like CBN because they have their own subset.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And the second question I wanted to ask is if you're looking to do segmentation within the word forms. I'm wondering where this is coming from. It seems to be something like the TIL system. So kind of monographemic prepositions are written together. Prepositions that have multiple letters are written apart.
Yeah.
Are you doing morpheme segmentation within the words, or where is this coming from? This kind of convention?
I really don't know what the Münster people do in this respect. We wanted to develop a kind of a tool. First, description how the words are to be segmented. So I have to do this, and then we will reconsider the Münster system and ours. But the first is that the texts are also in cooperation with Berlin and with you are also prepared for morphological segmentation. So we are not so interested in the prosodic unities that maybe in Coptic existed, but the text should be segmented to help reading and to help the morphological annotation.
I'd be very interested in coordinating that.
Then we will keep in touch about this, and I will write it also for our student collaborators that they just type the text now for the base text as it is in the publication. Keep on this, we said to them, and then we will develop rules that everybody knows, and then we can talk about this.
For spacing, it would be important to do early because they're going to just do something.
We will optimize it. Yeah.
If we have our future project funded, then hopefully this will all get settled then. If not, we will have to figure out some other way to do that. So because that's been a big part of our conversations is how to segment and annotate for Coptic's particularities in its morphological system. We have to develop generally applicable rules that, because this will be an open system, of course, with user management system.
that also scholars from everywhere can contribute.
Mhm.
And it must be clear how to transcribe text and how the text is.
Sometimes people underestimate this, but even not just on this page, you have
Yeah.
things like we do together, for instance.
Yeah, yeah.
So compounds and or the prepositions or pronouns. There's just so many things.
I just want to chime in real quick on that note because you mentioned the tool system, which looks like this is. We're using that as the standard in Leipzig as well. So we have like a phenomenal state R and like you said, positions that are more than one level. Just because it's a feasible, pragmatic place to start, that can apply to almost everything.
Even if you tell people guidelines, you'd be amazed where there's a variation. We fall more latent, so it depends whether you write perhaps more things together. But it's definitely an area that requires more standardization.
So Amir and I see it also from the background of Egyptology, of Egyptian language, and the history of Egyptian language. So that some Coptologists don't understand what I have in mind as an Egyptologist too, because how came it to this form and that form? But you had the questions.
Well, I just had something about the Morgan collection. I spent some time there a couple of years ago with the Hymnic corpora from St. Michael's in Fire, and those manuscripts are in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about the biblical manuscripts.
Yeah.
But
I will see. I only asked for the Old Testament, but that's already a lot, several hundred pages. Just see, I will talk to the authorities. We also offer something to the people at Morgan and all the metadata, and they can link to our database or whatever. Maybe there will be a deal. On the other hand, if this will be possible to finance, then we just stay with facsimile edition because this is free of copyright now.
We should thank Frank and move on to our next paper. There'll be more time for discussion later. Yeah. Thank you very much. Great. Yeah, can you help Frederick get his computers because there's audio.
You want to use Yes.
Who's in charge of that? Yeah, because we should talk tomorrow.
Yeah,
we should make that part of our conversation tomorrow.
That's
Yeah, because
That's the work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unfeasible.
Right.
Especially if you've got tech.
Yeah. I'll think about it.
okay, maybe that was the wrong question.
Don't worry, this is German time, so I feel I didn't take that long.
Message it to me. Yes.
Try the same.
Just want to see all the German frameworks. Screen. No. Here it's
And let's get ahead and see if it's all
Yeah,
first.
just check it, yeah.
We should share Kathleen speaking. Colleagues. Yeah. Can you make it any louder?
Can you make it any louder?
This is at maximum already. I brought voices from beyond.
2014, joined by a student of linguistics and computer science. My own background is mainly defined by science and Egyptology. But since 2010, plays an important role.
But theoretically, is this loud enough to grow up wide? Okay.
And another long-term dictionary.
Okay, that's loud enough.
That's good.
Okay.
First. Familiar. It's a singular.
Okay, it is a real pleasure to introduce Frederick Kruger and Katrine John. Katrine is, as you noticed, going to be attending virtually, and they are representing the Loanword project that we've heard mentioned before in Leipzig, and which is now moving to Berlin. And also on a personal note, Frederick was my research assistant on my fellowship in Germany in Göttingen a few years ago. And we've had long talks about Shenouda and Coptic and Stargate. And so it's really great to have you here. And we're looking forward to hearing about all the next steps in this project. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Carrie. Well, yeah, really, thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Amir. Thank all the hosts for helping create and maintain this community. And just on a personal note, I want to say how excited I am to be here. It's like 3 first times all at once for me. Like first time to the States, first time speaking at a conference, first time doing that in English. So I'm really glad to be here. So as many of you know, it's something of a German tradition to begin your talk with an apology. So here's mine. So here's mine. Came here all by myself without my colleague Katrin Yuan, who we heard mentioned already. Was originally going to give this presentation to you. And out of all the people at our project, Katrin would have been singularly qualified to do just that, because as our one-woman IT crowd, she knows like the back of her hand all the technological intricacies, the software, the tools, etc., which you all want to know about and want to talk about, which admittedly Philip phrased it really good before. I'm a mere philologist, but we're going to have to make do. So thankfully, while Katrin cannot be here in the flesh today, she is still with us, first in spirit, of course, but also with a recording, already heard it, that she made for the second half of the presentation, which discusses the future technological perspectives of the DCLC. So after this brief disclaimer, let me jump straight to my part, the concise introduction of our project and the lexicographical work done by myself and 3 colleagues. The enormous substratum of Greek loanwords, covering all semantic and syntactical categories, that entered the ancient Egyptian language in the approximately 1,500 years between Alexander's conquest of the country and the displacement of the native tongue by Arabic, represents one of the widest and deepest cases of intensive lexical loan activity documented in all antiquity. Unfortunately, due to a sharp divide between the lexicographical work of Hellenists and Egyptologists, dictionaries of Coptic contain only the autochthonous words, I hope that's how you pronounce that, of the language. As an analogy, imagine a dictionary of the English language that excludes the countless words of French origin. As with Coptic, the vocabulary would not be remotely representative. In fact, the word representative itself, you wouldn't find it in there. Since the 1950s, German scholars have repeatedly endeavored to amend what is therefore one of the oldest and most pressing desiderata in all Coptology, the systematic lexicography of Greek loanwords in Coptic. 4 times this enterprise either failed or did not receive funding to begin with. From 2010 to 2012, the theoretical and technical foundations for a comprehensive lexicographical study of the use of Greek loanwords in Coptic were developed by a pilot project led by Tonio Sebastian Richter under the auspices of the Saxonian Department of Science and Art. This project, called the Database and Dictionary of Greek Loanwords in Coptic, this rolls off the tongue, short DDGLC, won the long-term support, projected until 2024, of the German Research Council in 2012, and has since its beginnings been located at the Institute of Egyptology, Georg Steindorf, at the University of Leipzig, to be relocated to Free University Berlin later this year. So, as Herr Fehler pointed out, it's a nice
coming and going. He's leaving Berlin, we're coming to Berlin, so it's always on the move. Our goal is the comprehensive documentation and analysis of 1,500 years of contact-induced language change in the Egyptian lexicon, including Arabic loanwords as well, culminating in the production of a digital database and printed dictionary of Greco-Coptic loanwords. The database that was developed during the initial pilot phase, and with which we've been working so far, is currently based on FileMaker Pro. In the near future, we'll be hearing all about that in a moment from Hatim, to be adapted into a MySQL-based system. I'm now going to explain to you the basic structure of our data as accessible through a database. There are three linked main layers. First, there is the Greek lemma. Here you will find a single conventional form of any given loanword in its Greek form, as one would find it in Greek dictionaries, such as Little Scott Jones. For instance, if it's a verb, it'll be the first person singular indicative. Then you have the Coptic sublemma. This is a form of the word as loaned into Coptic, based on the morphological, semantical, and syntactical properties of the word, or a special construction in which it appears in Coptic. There can be any number of these sublemmata, all linked to a common Greek lemma. We'll be seeing examples shortly. Then you have the attestation level, the individual attestation linked as such to the respective Coptic sublemma. Here, some context, a translation, and detailed description of the grammatical integration into the surrounding Coptic text are given. Here we have a visualization of how these three levels are connected. As examples, we have here three different, or maybe more, Coptic sublemmata, depending all on the Greek lemma. As you see, we have the basic Greek lemma Palin, and then here we have three Coptic sublemata relating to that, two of which are just Palin but mean different things. And then we have one which basically means the same as just Palin, but is emphasized by the Coptic element on so regularly that it's justified to see it as a combined lexicalized unit and create a subtle sublemma for that. So we can make the attestations for that and count all the instances, which are plenty, where we have Palin on, here spelled Palin on. Now, some examples from the database. This is now the Greek lemma level. Remember the highest level. Here we have the Greek lemma entry for eidolon, image idol, with the standard Greek spelling as one would find it in a Greek dictionary. On the right-hand side, the database shows us all Coptic sublemmata, as I said, specific meanings, constructions, usages of this loanword, which we have so far identified and to which we have linked attestations. More sublemmata are added every day, so this is constantly growing. As you can see, we have so far distinguished 5 different usages for eidolon in Coptic. 4 of these are nominal constructions, consisting either only of the noun eidolon or integrating this noun into strings of varying complexity, such as idolatry, idolater, and one verbalized usage to worship idols to partake in idolatry. I can now click on any one of those Coptic sublemmata, and let's just pick the simple form eidolon itself first. Now we move to the Coptic sublemma page, for eidolon meaning idol, and we can see that it is linked to the Greek lemma, which we just saw. And on the right-hand side now of the Coptic sublemma page, we see all the individual attestations from various texts that were entered so far, which contain an instance of eidolon with this specific meaning. As you can see at the top, right now we have 34 attestations at this point. Now to move on, if I click on any one of these attestations, I'm taken to the attestation level, which is where most of the lexicographical work takes place. So here we have now one of the, as of a couple days ago, over 50,000 attestations linked to all of our Coptic sublemmata, and one of the 34, which you just saw, for eidolon. This is a quote from the Wisdom of Solomon, who, as you know, was a huge fan of idolatry. And as you can see here, now this attestation is linked to the Coptic sublemma page, and below that is the link to the the Lemma page, so you can always see what is connected to what. And above the quotation top, you can see that it is also linked to another set of metadata pertaining to the text and the manuscript, and a combined data layer for manuscript text combination, where time doesn't afford me right now to go into detail, but those data are all collected on their own levels, and you can go to this text and this manuscript and have this and that Coptic sublemma with attestations for it appearing in this specific text. Well, as you can see, the loanword as well as its translation are highlighted in blue. The specific orthography of the loanword in question is extracted into a separate field. Below that is the encoding field. Here you can see encoding and then gender determined. And this, the encoding field, is by far the most demanding part of day-to-day lexicography of the PGLC. This is where we describe the grammatical features of the loanword according to a very complex and constantly growing system of brief codes, through which, on the very right-hand side, you can see there's this list of codes which I can scroll through, where we have all these abbreviations for all kinds of grammatical phenomena that we need to take into account. In this case, it's fairly simple. Eidolon is a noun, therefore NN. Gender cannot be inferred in this case, so it's Gen 0. Even if we know what it is in Greek, we pretend like we don't know because we can't start making assumptions. We keep going like that. So it's Gen 0 in this case. It is plural, and it is determined, DTD, with a definite article. Now, this is a very simple example, very short. Just as an example of the extremes this encoding can go to, let's look at an attestation for the complex compound ment ref shemsha eidolon, idolatry. Here's an attestation for that. And this is a quote from the works of Besa, the successor of the famous Chinul as abbot of the White Monastery, two of whose letters and sermons, I believe, are accessible at the SCRIPTORIUM already. And obviously, now, as you can see in the encoding, this is far more complex than our last example. I'm not going to go through all the details, just generally. Begins like the last one with eidolon, describing it as of without discernible gender, number, or determination. So that's all 0 at the beginning. And then the following codes describe sort of backwards to the beginning the various levels of verbalization and nominalization that happen in each step of this construction. Now, don't worry, these codes that you see here are obviously extremely idiosyncratic and for the most part not immediately self-explanatory to someone who's not familiar with our encoding system. But this is purely project internal. So as soon when in a distant future this will be available online for the public, this will all be translated into transparent terminology of Coptic grammar. Okay. I have more examples, but this concludes my part of the presentation. We come now to Katrin's part, and there's still time. Maybe we can look at some more examples if you want. But now I'm gonna the stage over to Katrin.
The lexicographical work at the DGLC project is accompanied and supported by a permanent IT position, mostly carried out by myself, and since the beginning of 2014, joined by a student of linguistics and computer science. My own background is mainly defined by computer science and Egyptology. But since 2010, computer-aided lexicography plays an important role in both my work at the DGLC project and another long-term dictionary project I am working for. The main focus of the IT work at the DGLC is centered around the database, aiming to provide a proper tool and data structure for the lexicographers. Starting in 2010, in a 2-year-long pilot project, we established first a relational database version, first a prototype, and 6 months later, a revised version. It grew in the following years, not just in the number of data sets, but was also adjusted and extended with more fields. fields, functions, and scripts, while the lexicographical needs were more and more refined. The schema of the system currently in use is as follows. The tables can mainly be divided into two general modules. The lexicographical module incorporates the attested loanword assigned with the Coptic sublemma that is linked with the Greek lemma. The historical archaeological framework stores metadata about the manuscript and the text joined in the manuscript text table. Additional tables provide more metadata or serve administrative functions. We use and are still working with FileMaker Pro as our active database system. The advantage of FileMaker is its easy and quickly adjustable interface and the possibility to change the schema on the fly without downtime in most of the cases, which was a good environment in the process of defining our lexicographical approach. Our plans did involve moving to another relational database system when our mode of operation would be solidly established and thoroughly time-tested or field-tested, pun intended. The main disadvantages of FileMaker are its commercial license, the smaller number of supported programming languages, the limitation and the regularly occurring strange behavior of its own script language. But most important, from my perspective, that it is not following the three-level architecture divided into external, conceptual, and internal levels. Together with several major requirements for the modeling of the data in the last 2 years, it gives us the basis for a thorough revision. It is not only an unavoidable necessity, but also a given opportunity for improvement. The technical term for this process of changing from one system to another following certain strategies is called migration. The first preparations for this migration started almost a year ago. It is a central task to perform at the moment. The purpose of the migration is to make the overall business more effective and efficient. It is based on a technical review that usually assesses the quality and fit of the schema, the volume and the cleanliness of the data to be migrated. An important component of thorough preparation is a step called data assurance. Following the systematical analysis of the source system, two different approaches for the target system were outlined. A relational database system on the one hand, and an XML native database system on the other hand. The analysis made clear that the relational data model will be more advantageous and will therefore be our choice. As it was planned originally, the target system will be a MySQL PHP solution. All relevant fields were discussed on the technical and lexicographical perspectives and led to a new relational data model that will be introduced to all lexicographers in May 2015. Part of the changes of the data model will be integrated in the source system in May as well. The target system is being developed in a test server parallel to the usage of the source system, with the option for the lexicographers to test the new system without compromising the existing system or data. The final data cleansing and actual data migration will take place immediately before our project moves from Leipzig to Berlin in October of 2015, when there would be downtime of the old system anyway. So as you can imagine, we are very excited at the moment about all the upcoming developments. The target system will be the core for future modules to help lexicographers to input and process lexicographical data more easily or quickly by keeping the same level of quality. In the following years, a test and training corpus will be created from our material to develop and apply more approaches from computational linguistics in our day-to-day work. Planned modules and tests involve collocations, tokenizing, lemmatization, the project on encoding and additional statistics. Other ambitions in connection with the IT side of the DDGLC project are different strategies to acquire more data, either to be used in our database as attested instances or as additional information being used during the lexicographic process. Some examples are our work on optical character recognition, the transformation and integration of the FONC material into our database, including the use of this material for the tokenizer and lemmatizer in the upcoming phase, and the collection, processing, and presentation of additional lexicographical information. A very recent success and demonstration for the last mentioned ambition is the so-called Bauer material, a lexicographical compilation of more than 16,000 slips created by Dr. Gertrude Bauer from Tübingen by order of Professor Alexander Böhling. The material, 7 cardboard boxes full of slips, were forwarded to the DDGLC office in summer 2010 by Professor Peter Nagel of Bonn. Due to funding by the Gertrude and Alexander Böhling Stiftung, it was possible to check and clear the content of the boxes and to re-establish in most cases the original order of lexicographical slips and of their internal hierarchical structure. It contains around 13,000 attestations of almost 150 types of Greek prepositions, conjunctions, and particles in Coptic, from virtually all Coptic dialects and types of texts, arranged on the basis of a detailed analysis of their semantic and syntactic properties. The original slips have been scanned and slotted into a database, replicating the hierarchical structure of the original compilation. It is our pleasure to provide a new lexicographical tool to an audience of interested people from fields such as cryptology, classical studies, and linguistics. It is possible to access the data via an index list showing the complete hierarchical structure of the material and the layers in which it appears, or it's possible to open a complete database or use the search form on the left side to look up the information you are interested in.
Thank you, Katrin, and thank you. So yeah, the last thing which you just saw, this new Bauer database, that's like been a parallel project for a long time. That people have been working on this old drawer full of all these slip cards, and Katrin and interns have been working tirelessly on putting that in digital format. So while the actual DDGLC database, Greek loanwords, that's a long time away that that'll be available for the general public. But I think as far as the Bauer material is concerned, which is all about functional words, conjunctions, particles, and everything she calls a nicht flektierte Wörter. So for that is probably so far the most valuable resource. So I'm not sure if it's online right now, but it will be. If not, it will be very soon. So there's that.
Thank you very much. So we have a few moments for questions for Frederick, and Frederick representing Katrine, and then we can have more discussion about the whole morning session. So are there any questions specifically about the loanword project in Frederick's presentation?
I'll start off. Great presentation, very interesting work, and I can see why 2024 is on your calendar, your plural. I'm curious about the part of speech tagging that you've been doing. And I'd like to hear from you and anyone else in the room who has had to deal with defining parts of speech and how you come up with rules and how you're going to carve it up. I know in English there is no agreement. There's a lot of coalition, say, around the pen annotation system, but also there's Brown and there's a number of other variants. I'd love to hear about the thought processes and decision-making that you did in determining parts of speech and where things begin and end?
That's a good question, which probably don't have the answer. So all the whole basic layout of the database as it stands now was developed from 2010 to 2012 in the pilot phase, for which I was not there. So actually wouldn't know the exact decisions that led to these divisions.
Have you had to do any of that kind of tagging, or do you entrust that to your colleagues?
I mean, like when we decide here, this is a noun or a verb or.
Yeah, those are the easy ones. Particles, determiners, adverbs. Those are more difficult ones.
Well, I guess when you come to adverbs, we generally look at in Coptic. In our opinion, it seems to fulfill the function of the adverbial slot. And then when you come to function words, for example, those usually already exist. And then if you get a new one with a slightly different meaning, you might duplicate a copy of that and then keep the original. So.
Well, go ahead. A comment and elaboration on that. So I guess if you're only talking about tagging the actual Greek ones, right? You're not tagging everything in the attestation, right? So in that sense, you will have tagged.
We tag the loan word, and if the construction extends beyond, I'd say eidolon in this case, like mentor Shemsha eidolon, we'll tag all of that and the equivalent in the translation.
Okay, so that already means that large classes of Coptic you don't need to worry about, right? So two things I was wondering about. So first of all, for being a noun, for me, mentref Shemsha eidolon is a noun. That's a single noun. It has the gender feminine. The internal structure of it is something that does not contain. I mean, the things within it are smaller than a noun.
That's what you get at the end of the encoding. Like we start here with eidolon,
right?
Then we go backwards through all these stages, and then we end up with nominalized feminine singular determined for ment.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that eidolon has any gender in this context, and the feminine that you have at the very end, that's the gender of this entire thing.
This is why it says Gen 0. It has no gender. It has no number. It has no determination.
I think eidolon generally didn't have a gender.
But the unit has a feminine.
The entire single noun that we're seeing here.
Right. At the end, you see then feminine singular is at the end.
Right. This is for the ment.
But in the text, you separate eidolon from.
That's the tokenization issue. Like
that's the word separation thing we discussed with. This is the chill rules of separation.
Laser pointer.
Yeah, because you're using your trackpad, but it's not showing up. Or you could use your finger and point on the screen.
The old one.
The old fashioned
Here it is. Yeah, so I mean, there's morphology and like word formation, just like in English, if you're doing a lexicon, you were tagging shun for like Asian or something. That would be a part of a word. It would not necessarily receive its own part of speech tag per se.
We just wanna be as detailed as possible to observe, no matter how valuable that might in different cases turn out to be at the end. But first, as we're gathering data, we want to observe as great detail as possible the constructions. So we say this is our sublemma, and our MO is just encode everything you tag, you encode.
So you tag them as you interpret the internal organs. Of how would they be tagged if they were standing in isolation is what you're trying to say. So shimsha is a verb because if it was not within this word, it would be a verb.
Sorry?
So shimsha is a verb because if it were not standing within this construction, it would be a verb.
Yeah.
Within the construction, it's not functioning as a verb.
Yeah. And the second thing I was wondering about is adjectives. So you have the category adjective, and you have a kind of dual allegiance here. You're tagging Greek words, so in Greek you can probably say whether or not they're adjectives.
Yeah.
What is an adjective? So this is Coptic, right?
Yeah.
What is an adjective?
Of course, in Coptic you have the problem that the category adjective, as in Greek per se, doesn't exist like that. But you have adverbial constructions where technically the adjective takes nominal slot. So we just we still want to keep the category adjective, but we
does it refer to the Greek word being an adjective, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. And the fact that it is joined by, let's say, n, like n agathos, and we have a special code for that, which or we have code for you say it's at for attributive or substantivized, and then there'll be further codes describing the whole nominal thing that results.
I essentially think that's all syntax. So you can get both orders, and with some adjectives like hui or not, you'll get usually the opposite order, but with all of them you can get both.
For that also we have codes for really pretty much everything that we bump into. Like when you have what you mentioned, the nogi and something, like when you have phenomena where they switch places. That's like that's CNSTL. It's like we have this random sequence of whatever we find first, it gets a new number, new letter, and that's CNSTL. So
sublemma. It's a different sublemma
then. No, because sublemma would be sublemma if the whole construction, like the noun and its attribute, would be a sublemma. But I can't think of an example of that.
I mean, I agree that, I mean, on a linguistic level, you're dealing with nominals, not with either adjectives or nouns or such, but as a semantic item, since a lexicon is interested in semantics, there's some justification maybe for retaining some of these things on a functional level. You call it syntax.
The problem is you're coming with your European kind of glasses onto it and deciding what's... So for instance, I like Layton's distinction between gendered and non-gendered nouns.
Right.
So the non-gendered nouns can take either article if they're describing, but that includes, for instance, himhal, which any normal person in this room would say is a noun. It means servant or slave.
But you can say,
but it's a non. Exactly. So himhal is the thing that you're calling adjective.
I didn't use that term, sir. I said nominals. I said there wasn't that.
But does that have attributive semantics?
You meaning wrong. Yeah, okay. So
does that have attributive semantics to you? Slave.
I was talking about the lexical situation of loan words that do plug into certain specific syntactic categories in Coptic discourse. That's what I'm talking about. So that they do get imported with gender, despite Bentley's term for words of Egyptian origin. Greek loan words, nominals come in with a ascribed gender, so they're not genderless in that sense.
Well, the adjectives can optionally be used both, or the ones in A can only be used for one.
Right. So I just think it's complicated.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah. Because this is not a trivial question, because I work also for the Egyptian dictionary, you have this difference between the older and the younger Egyptian, between a syntactic system building forms from word stems, and then the analytical system that ended up in Coptic. So, and I agree also to this what Philip said. You have the linguistic and you have also the level of the lexicon of syntax. And also Crum, who was really an experienced person, a great scholar, although he knew that the category in Coptic adjective is linguistically, even in those days, problematic, then he maintained adjective, because for the lexicon, that's important. And you could say such a combination of Mund, Ref, Schimpchen, something, and even the article in front. You can cut it into morphological unities, and this is what we also want to do. We have this in Coptic, and we want to have every morphological unit linked to its Egyptian forebear. But on the level of the lexicon, this is a noun with a feminine article. So we have to develop a system where you have what you want: the Coptic lexical unit, noun with article, and you have the elements it is composed of, and everything should be analyzable. And so this is what we plan in Berlin, that we have a whole Egyptian lexicon. And you can browse from the old pyramid text down to the words of Shemita. equally awful the Berlin extension. It's my personal statement. So I'm not understanding. Yeah, but then you have to find a way how to interwove these informations.
Yeah.
So in the text, we have to tag every single unit, but you can have the lexical unit of the Coptic lexicon, or you can have the element, Münd, and you follow it back in other Egyptian texts of former stages.
Yeah.
But this is always a matter of decision.
Yeah.
You will have points. So many adverbs. So one Greek adverb is translated in an analyzed construction of preposition, undefined article, and noun in Coptic. So is this on the level of the lexicon? Because also to compare it to the Greek lexicon, you have this as an adverbial phrase, and there's only one adverb formation in Greek. And you see that there are many points in play.
Okay, well, we've gone into more general discussion, so let's thank Frederick. Can you keep that slide up there for a second? Thank you. Yeah, because I wanted to jump into the linguistic thing, and are you talking about the more
I might.
segmentation?
If not, I can say something.
But because I wanted to say, go ahead and sit down. We'll give you your computer back in a minute. Because what we're doing is kind of what Frank was describing with our project, where we have one annotation of the whole ment, ref, shemsha, eidolon as noun, and then a sub annotation of morphs, so that ment is a separate annotation, ref is a separate annotation, shemsha is a separate one, and eidolon is a separate one, so that in fact you can then, I mean, we don't call these things anything except morphs, but Frank's lexicon could, since they're already separated and annotated as these subsets, you can either include this as a noun and or include the little morphs too. And it was precisely our conversations in Berlin 2 years ago where this scheme arose, because the linguists and Egyptologists were like, we have to be able to track the ment. And so yeah. Yeah.
It's also crucial for counting purposes. If you want to know how many words there are in a text, we have different levels. If you want to know about the morphs, and if you want to know about the normalized units that receive the part of speech, like the entire thing, and if you want to know about bound groups, especially if you're talking about frequencies, there's no way to compare unless you say what you're doing about these things.
Well,
this may be a question for for later, but would you distinguish between complex lexical items like this that are living in Coptic, where any author could just say, well, I can put it together with a verbal stem and an object and create a new noun for lexicology or something like that, as opposed to things that are not available for fresh instructions. Because I would say that where it's possible for any Coptic speaker or writer, like in English, we can add words like ship, friendship, but we don't say Coptic ship. Ship seems to be like and you would know much better, but it seems like the kind of thing you can't really use much anymore, except kind of ironically. You can't create a new word with that suffix very frequently.
This morphological productivity, which funnily was the topic of my dissertation in linguistics. And in Coptic, I think morphology has been weakened very substantially. And even these things that we look at as derivational affixes are actually old compounds. So mint is midit and so on. Right. But I think for these cases, it's very clear that it's a closed list of possible options. For things that are fully lexicalized and non-productive, we don't even distinguish the internal structure. So these would be things like ro or rmao. We consider these to be single monolithic lexemes with no internal structure. And I think from a synchron, although this might sadden Frank, because of course historically you can't then connect them to their constituents. From a synchronic point of view in Coptic, you can very clearly see that there's no insight that they're analyzable, to the point that you can get double intensification, double articles. Yeah. You can get ro, the king, even though of course the segmentation is o.
There are differences in the dialects between Baha'is and Hasidic.
Yes. Also the pre versus pre, the sun. Yeah.
One is productive, it's not.
So productive is the right word.
Yeah, so the productive ones are fairly small, close class, because Coptic is typologically the kind of language that has cast aside derivation morphology. It is only concatenating, uses the N.
But it seems as though in those cases, it's still useful to have visibility.
For these cases, definitely. The only thing we don't, at least in our project, that we don't do is things like Rmao and Nihilo. I can't think of many more examples where you would have.
We wouldn't do that one either, by the way. So
Yeah,
even we
that
stop at
is-
some point.
But that's also not Greek. I mean,
You don't
it's-
really
Okay, we have just, we'll have just a couple more minutes before lunch.
One, two.
So I think Joel, did you have your hand up? Did you have a question or comment? No? Okay, and was there anything else? We also have, I think, a couple of heavy linguistic papers after lunch too. So I'm sure the linguistic questions will come up again. Were there any other questions or comments about the other papers?
This is about Frederick's presentation.
Oh, okay. Well, why not? Go ahead.
It was just that I wondered, you know, you're taking this from published text, right? You have
Yeah,
something basic.
We go from the editions.
Okay. I mean, I can say that I recently had the experience of reading a published edition, and there is a Greek loan word that's spelled in a really strange way. I could often and I think the editor has misidentified as a Greek word, but he picked the wrong one. And then he's got a definition. The meaning, it's the wrong one. I'm just wondering at what level are you sort of, is there a level of checking before it's just pulled into your...
Not systematically, because we're dealing with, I mean, even with our projected runtime till 2024, still such an ambitious project to want to enter really everything that there is, all of Coptic literature, all genres, all times. So we do that sometimes, like when we have the edition and we get a hunch that there might be something here, and we have the opportunity to take a quick look. We'll do that, but not systematically, because we just don't have the time to do that. So we have to rely on the editions for the most part to get this done. Really,
Just be clear about that. You have every single Coptic sentence that has a date in it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. It's going to be more than half the sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a concatenated word cloud once. You can guess what was the...
Yeah. That was not a coincidental example.
First,
Yeah. Great. So, and any other questions also about any of the other papers or about intersections between some of the papers? I mean, I really noticed, obviously, there's the crowdsourcing. That's a great connection, and
searchable databases.
right, and the searchable databases, and the ability to use the manuscript room for maybe other manuscript projects besides the biblical projects would also be fantastic. If there are other transcription projects. So those are some of the things I noticed. But yeah, does anybody have any other kind of comments or questions about some of the other papers or anything else that's arisen from those? Yeah,
I'm kind of interested in the issue of facsimiles, because I've seen there's two types of projects. There are the projects that just do digitized text and have their own legal rights issues, and there are the projects where you can see the high-res images. Are these all being done by institutions that own these things, or has anybody been able to reach some sort of agreement where you get behind the contractual law? Because obviously there's no intellectual property rights on things that are 2,000 times old, but there's the contract law in these libraries and museums. Does anybody have anything constructive to say on that?
Frank does. You've been talking to all these libraries, right?
Yeah, I started contacting them. It's really different. This is also what Kyle Schisler told me, that in some collections it was really easy to get access to high resolution images. But these are few. Mostly he was absolutely upset, for example, for the Chester Beatty collection. So much money, he was absolutely shouting and yelling around. There is a kind of development, I don't know, but we need an international standard for handling these things, because we have these public domain and public access sources, and then the collection behave within one country absolutely differently. So if they are not private collections, and this is maybe a question of on the governmental level. So if the federal states or the federal government have some rules for digitization, And this was also in Europe, the European Union is thinking about. But then you have the member states and the federal states of the member states, and yeah, that's something what will come up as an important point. And if we can help in this, yeah. So then now it's the politics. Then you have to go to see these people and to offer them something and look what they can offer you, and to bargain the price. And it's like Egypt.
Philip?
Yeah, I mean, the Vatican Library would be an interesting example, because for a long time they were extremely close, and one of the prefects basically got fired because he tried to go open source. But I find a ironic inversion in my own experience. If there's a collection that has scholars assigned to be able to publish, then it's much harder.
Yeah.
I say that about our own collection, obviously, the Oxford collection, but as opposed to, let's say, for example, in the Dead Sea Scrolls example, the Huntington Library was just a depository. They had no one there who had responsibility for publishing any of that material, so they said, sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's sad, because it's the stuff that has been assigned for publication, or is waiting to be assigned for publication. It's the hardest to get to. It's also the stuff you're most interested in.
Right, right. Yeah, and there are these big digitization projects that are happening in England, especially at some of the collections in England, like the British Library and British Museum and the Bodleian. But typically Coptic is not high on the priority list for these, and there are a lot of the Greek and Latin biblical manuscripts that are the first ones to go out there, which ironically, again, are the ones that we have the most published editions of already. And so it's nice to have those images, but you're also like dying for the ones that are not as well publicized. So, I mean, hopefully we'll be able to make some more progress. So, all right, well, thank you. We now have a break for lunch, and I believe that we have, even if you didn't register, we should have enough food for you, because we had a couple people drop out and order a little extra. Lunch is being served in the common area over there through that hallway. And for the vegetarians and vegans who registered, there should be a separate little salad entree. There should be 8 or 9 of these little things that look vegetarian, and vegetarian and vegan are the same. So if you're vegetarian or vegan, you should look for the same thing that's out there. And there's sandwiches and such for everyone else. And we are, I think, coming back here at 1. Is that right?
Maybe leave our things here.
1, is it 1:15?
We can close the room, then it'll be locked, and nobody will be able to come in here.
Should we take our
But I think we're literally just walking there. There's going to be, I think it's fine to leave our stuff down here, don't you?
I am doing it, but,
Okay.
but I take
Okay.
no legal responsibility.
That's right. So, and if you want to go outside, there is a place to get espresso that's a few blocks away, but just plan to be back. We'll start at 1:15. Is that right? Whatever's on the schedule. Great.
I'm sure anything
So
above
I've seen my
freezing.